So today's kind of a update, really, a little bit of an update in regards to what some of us watched and what we kind of talked about yesterday in regards to the iPhone and the iPhone 13, of course. And we brought out a video yesterday showing all the features, but we had some concerns, I think it was, some concerns in regards to the presentation and our thoughts on why certain things were possibly omitted or were kind of just grazed on. So since yesterday till now, looking at all the articles online, we see that we weren't the only ones to kind of be wondering a little bit about this. So we're gonna kind of go through this. This is the big one. This is probably the big one. At least it was the big one for me. And if you would have asked me yesterday, right, like after the keynote, if I was gonna buy an iPhone 13, I was like, yeah. And I even was like telling my wife, I think I'm gonna get the iPhone 13 Pro. But after a day of pondering, because I have the iPhone 12 Pro, I'm a little hesitant in dropping that amount of money because here in Canada, for instance, there's a few things. It's $13.99, I think it is, for the base iPhone 13 Pro. $13.99. Okay, so right off the bat, that's not inexpensive, right? It's not inexpensive by any means. So a few things that we have learned, I'm just trying to make sure my screen is recording here, was that for number one of the big features that I liked, I'm all over the board today, is on the iPhone 13, they talked about ProRes video. And I work in ProRes, even with my cameras I shoot here, I transcode everything into ProRes. So being able to have this in ProRes, I thought that would be awesome. But I don't use my iPhone a lot for video, except when I'm out on holidays. And if you're out on holidays, do you care about ProRes? No, not at all, right? But I would care about it in here. But what we've learned is that you need the 256 gig version or higher to actually get that feature. If you buy the iPhone 13 Pro 128 gig, even though it has all the processor power to do it, no, the feature's just not coming. So they're holding you back, right? Now it could very well be one of two things. It could be that the physical drive that's in the 128 gig version isn't fast enough to be able to write that kind of bitrate and file size, because it does say that you can get 1080p in ProRes, but you can't get 4K. But I want 4K. Or it could be that 4K in ProRes, they're just kind of thinking that you're going to fill up your phone because the file sizes are going to be large. But now I'm looking at $1,540 before tax. So tack another $200 on that for taxes, and I'm between $1,700 and $1,800. So you're thinking, but you get a new phone. Yeah, you get a new phone. But do you? Do you get a new phone? Sort of. Cosmetically, it's the same, right? It really doesn't look any different. It is what it is. Do you get faster, better cameras? Yeah, a little bit. Is that much of a concern for many of us? Some, sure. Most probably will never ever see the difference. Let's be completely honest, right? You won't. Will you get that cinematic mode for video? That's the one that I kind of want, and maybe not. My question now is that something that is just being locked by Apple to kind of get you into the new phones, or is it something that could have been placed on the iPhone 12 with the A14 chip? Because here's the thing. If you watch the keynote, and I encourage you guys to do it, this was one of the first years, and I pointed this out yesterday when I released a little what we saw in the video in under 20 minutes. Links down below if you guys want to go watch that, which you should. I talked about the fact that when they were talking about, for one, the iPad Air, They never even said what processor was in it. Didn't talk about it. They talked about some performance increases and things like that. Not the Air, so the iPad mini, sorry. They talked about performance and what it did. Never said what chip it was. We learned A15, same chip that's in the actual iPhone 13. Okay, cool. Now when the iPhone 13 rolled around and they were talking about it and the 13 and the 13 Pro, again, and this is one of the first times they've done this, they never ever said what kind of performance increase the 13 was having over the iPhone 12. They only talked about competing models, competitors. I'm like, that means nothing to me. If you, maybe you're competing against a phone that doesn't even have a flagship processor in it, or the new Android processors, new Qualcomm processors are all coming out in the next month or two. This is your new chip versus, let's put it against their new chip, not their old chip, right? I want you to tell me how much faster it is than the A14. That's what I want to know, because if it's not, which is something that we're learning, I'm going to see if I can find it here, because I was like, oh, that's interesting. Here it is, and this is on 9 to 5 Mac. You guys can see it here. I'll put it up on the screen over here. Right, here you go. iPhone 13 versus iPhone 12 performance comparisons missing from keynote. Yeah, exactly what I said yesterday. Despite all the time Apple spent talking about the chips, there was no iPhone 13 versus iPhone 12 performance comparison. Usually Apple tells us how much faster and more powerful the latest iPhone is compared to the previous model, but this time it didn't do that, leading some to conclude that there's good reason for this. Yeah, maybe it's not faster. So Jason Snell notes from Macworld, there's a funny thing about Tuesday's announcement of the A15 Bionic. Apple didn't compare it to the A14. Correct. Apple has chosen to proclaim that the A15 and the iPhone 13 Pro has 50% better graphics and CPU performance than the competition. Again, that's just generalizing, right? This suggests that the A15 shows less improvements over the A14 than it does over the Qualcomm processors in leading Android phones. And it makes me wonder if Apple is perhaps trying to soft pedal a new chip that isn't much faster than the older model. And I'm kind of tending to agree with this. Over the past few years, each successive chip generally offers 20% improvements, but this year it may not have done that, which is why they decided let's not talk about it. Semi-analysis, hoping that says that right. They said it put it even more bluntly, claiming that Apple has lost its best chip engineers over the past year, and as a result is unable to offer the performance improvements it has in the past. And you guys, again, you should go over to 9 to 5 Mac and kind of read this article. But what's interesting was what they were talking about. It says here that the site then presents evidence that the A14 and A15 performance are likely to be all but identical. Based this on Apple's performance claims for the new iPad mini. Says the most important thing to note is that the CPU gains are identical from the A12 to the A14 as they are from the A12 to the A15. Yeah, so going a little deeper, they said that Semi-Analysis believes that the next generation core was delayed out of 2021 into 2022 due to CPU engineer resource problems. In 2019, Nuvia was founded and later acquired by Qualcomm. Apple's chief CPU architect, Gerard Williams, as well as over 100 other Apple engineers left to join this firm. The brain drain continues, and impacts will be more apparent as time moves on, as Apple once drained resources out of Intel and others through the industry. The reverse seems to be happening now. We believe Apple had to delay the next generation CPU core due to all the personal turnover Apple has been experiencing. So instead of a new CPU core, this is key, they are using a modified version of last year's. and this is all speculation, right? 100%, until someone actually gets one of these in their hands. But because Apple didn't talk about it, and because of the way you look at what they talked about with the iPad mini in regards to performance gains over the A12, I believe that was in that model, we're seeing the same, as it says, we're seeing the same performance percentage increase to the A15 in the iPad versus what it was on the A14. So it seems like maybe it's not a better chip. Maybe it's just slight modifications to it to enhance it. And maybe that extra GPU core was really all they could throw into the iPhone 13 just to give it something. So I don't know now whether I want this phone or not. I don't know. I was all gung-ho. And I know I should get it for testing for you guys. So if you have questions on it, I have it. But this is a phone that I buy out of my own pocket. And that's $1,800. Yeah. Oh, I don't know. Because this phone's good. It works. It's paid for. Yeah. What do you guys think? Should I get it? Should I not get it? I don't know what to do. Are you getting it? What do you think of this whole A14, A15 thing? Do you think nobody cares, or is Apple just being like, we'll put a new number on it and they'll buy it because they're Apple people, so they won't even look into it? Some of us are looking into it. Leave comments down below, and that's really it for today. We'll get back to more stuff tomorrow, but you know what? It's Apple. It's their news. We focus, right? All right, guys, like, comment, share, subscribe, hit the little notification bell, and we will see you guys tomorrow. Later.